Welcome back, everybody, to the Oz Bodybuilding Podcast. Today I'm joined with New South Wales Junior Champion, Callum. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Not too bad, thanks.
That's good. All right, so my first question for you, man, today is, was this your first competition? Have you kind of competed before? And if so, like kind of what got you into deciding to step on stage?
So no, this wasn't my first show that I did. I did a WBFF show April last year. Kind of made the decision to get a coach and do it 18 weeks before it actually started. So big props to my coach, 18 weeks to do a bulk and a cut.
Yeah.
Very, very fast paced, and it kind of gave me an idea of what everything would be like, which is good. I mainly did it as just a trial and error to see if I wanted to continue down the path of bodybuilding.
Yep.
Obviously, I did, and I did really quite well. One of the main things that got me into it was one of my mates. He was with my coach Mike, and he just kept on haggling me every time we we're at the gym. Like, you should just do a show, just do a show, just do a show. And eventually, I was just like, stuff it. You know what? What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
And then so I did it. I didn't want to do IFBB at first,
Okay.
just because I knew it was like a bit more of a bigger setting, and if I did want to continue down, I really just want to kind of nail the first go at it. Whereas with WBFF, I feel like it's a bit more of like a soft core show. It's a little bit more freelance. You can do more with it. It's a bit more of a fun show. So that's one of the main reasons why I did that one first.
Yeah, it's more like I've always kind of viewed WBFF more as like a beauty pageant type style than like that more really heavily competed federation.
Yeah, definitely. That's and that was one thing that I wasn't too comfortable with as well, like the whole dressing up and like the whole flamboyancy sort of thing of it. So I guess that was one good thing. So it really did put me out of my comfort zone. So especially being on stage, doing like the whole model walk, the T walk, and everything like that. So it really did get me out of my comfort zone. So if I did pursue with this, I was already a little bit ahead of things, I guess, with like comfortability wise, being on stage and having that presence.
Yeah, so it would have been a good experience no matter whether you enjoyed it or not, kind of just influenced you in that manner. How come? What about ICN? Why choose WBF and not ICN? Because it kind of removes that beauty pageant style modeling, and is kind of some people do ICN before IFBB just to see if they like it. Was that
I actually didn't know about ICN until midway through like the whole process of it. And then when we found out about it, I was like, well, the dates don't really line up with what we're achieving, what we're doing so far. So I just didn't really go down that path because I was like, well, I've already made the decision to do this. There's no point changing. May as well just go through and see it out.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So leading into then going, so then I assume after WBFF you had a proper, did you have a 1 year, 2 year gap in between before stepping on the IFBB stage?
Yeah, so after April, had like a bit of a reverse diet. The annoying thing was about 8 to 10 weeks later, lockdown had hit.
Okay, yeah.
So that kind of made things difficult. I was very quite lucky in the fact that my work at the sports center actually has a gym, and it was within the radius, so I was still able to train.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I was studying at the time. I was doing my PT course, so I was on the laptop from 8:30 till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Have some food, go to the gym for 2 hours, and then that was my day for literally all of lockdown. So I was still getting my food in, still training hard, still getting my steps and everything like that in. So I felt like I was a bit luckier compared to a lot of people. And then after that, Coach and I sat down, I was like, should we do season A or do season B? And I was like, season A would be too close to where I felt like I was going to be. Whereas if I did season B, you could have more time to grow a little bit more. But I still felt like I was a bit small. So at the end of lockdown, I was only sitting at around like 94, 95 kilos. I was like, I feel like I need to have a bit more muscle on me and everything like that. And have a bit more time to grow and also have a bit of time for a longer prep as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. The choice of, giving yourself that more time. And like, you've been fortunate enough, like I know a lot of competitors, they either had to, make their own gym. That's where a lot of people ended up buying their own equipment. But, you were a lot more fortunate in that position where you could still train, eat your meals, and, you had that function within that.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess helped you grow a lot more than, others. So very lucky. So going into the show, the plan was always to do juniors, and then classic. So I noticed you did both. So my question kind of is, are you more of a open bodybuilder or a fan of classic, or you just wanted to do juniors and your focus is classic?
Actually, the plan was to do only classic.
Okay.
And then I propped the idea of doing men's. Like I said to my coach, I was like, "Oh, what do you thought on me doing men's?"
Yeah.
I meant that as men's physique, and my coach goes, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." I was like, "All right, cool." I ordered my board shorts, and he goes, "Board shorts? You mean trunks?" I was like, "No, no, like men's physique." And he
Oh
goes,
my.
"No. We're talking bodybuilding here." And I was like, "Why?" He says, "Why would you cover up your legs?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Because they're small." And he goes, "No, trust me, like they're
You
well
got good
enough."
legs.
Yeah, thank you. And my coach goes, no, we're doing bodybuilding. We're putting you in juniors.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, fine. Why not? Let's see what happens here. And I was like, is there any like differences in the posing? And he goes, not really. You get to do a lat spread and a side tricep. And I was like, yes. Because like they're two of like my favorite poses to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet, I get to do them. And so we just kind of
Awesome.
went from there. In regards to what the plan is, as much as bodybuilding is fun, I feel like I am a bit more suited to the classic
Yeah.
just because I'm around the 6 foot mark. If I was a little bit shorter, then obviously bodybuilding would be the way to go, just because like the whole weight
Yeah.
cap and everything limits. Obviously, I might do the under 90s open in 2024. It just comes down to whereabouts I am weighing, as I do have about 7 kilos to play with until I hit my 93 kilo weight cap.
Okay.
So the plan is
That's
to,
still good room, like a room to grow
yeah,
into.
yeah, which is one thing that was quite good. So the plan is to try and put on as much tissue as I can next year. And then when I do season A 2024, smash out classic as well as I can. If I'm under the 90 kilo mark, then I'll make the decision to do the under 90s as well, just as I know the next time I compete, I wouldn't be able to do it and I wouldn't have enough size to do the under 100s.
What about novice?
Um, is there a category for, actually, no, I can't do novice because I've placed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I didn't
novice
know
is
that.
you've competed but you haven't placed.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so I can only compete in open categories now.
Oh,
But
that
in
sucks.
but in saying that, when I did the under 90s opens men's at
Yeah,
the New South Wales show, um, I ended up coming fifth against a lot of the other big guys.
that's
So
good.
I was thinking, I do kind of have a shot here if I do have a bit more
Yeah,
size, but at the same time, how much do I have to play around and sacrifice? What if I stay under the 90 kilos? Do I sacrifice a little bit from classic, or just
yeah. What
those little
it's gonna
variables?
affect?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just those little variables do play a big factor in things, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, the classic is the goal,
hmm
but at the same time, in the long run, you can only stay in classic for so long because of your weight cap.
yeah. And at
Yeah,
least you have that advantage if you are able to turn pro. That weight cap does increase a bit, so then you can transition back into classic if
yeah,
that's where your passion is.
yeah, definitely.
That's something that you can kind of like look into.
Mm.
So off the win from the New South Wales juniors, what was kind of the plan? Like, I'm guessing you didn't did you get judges' feedback before nationals? Like, what was kind of the intention going forward into like nationals? Was it, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to try and take out first for juniors again? What were the improvements that, you and Mike kind of worked towards to hopefully bring that winning package?
So after the New South Wales show, I felt like I did stuff up a little bit,
Hmm?
purely in the fact that I went into the mindset of post comp wanting food, having like I thought I was going to have like these massive cravings, and so I had a really big bag of goodies and treats to eat. Um, Post comp, I didn't really have any cravings, wasn't overly hungry,
Yeah.
but I had an hour drive back home. And in my head, I was thinking, I'm allowed to eat this.
Yeah.
So I ate the whole entire bag
Oh,
of food I had. Um, I ended up having close on 10,000 calories
wow.
from when I went from post comp to bed. So like 10,000 calories in 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I did put on about 5 kilos overnight, which did definitely mess with my head.
Yeah.
And for that whole entire week, I was actually pulling out of nationals and not doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It wasn't until I had my first check-in with Mike on the following Saturday,
Hmm.
where I said to him, like, look, I'm not really feeling it. Like my weight hasn't really shifted. Like the whole entire week, I was still back down on 1,900 calories. I was making myself do extra cardio. I was doing like extra sauna sessions and things like that. to try and make my weight drop. And it wasn't until Friday where my weight dropped a little bit. And so it did mess me up in the head, to the point where I just didn't want to do it because I didn't feel like I was going to be able to do and be the best I could on stage. After the check-in with Mike, he goes, pull your head in. I will get you there. Just trust me. I'm not going to let you not do it, because if you don't do it, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I've trusted you enough so far. Why would I not trust you now? Let's smash it out and see what we can do.
Yeah.
The following week, my head kind of leveled out, and I was like, all right, I reckon I can do this. I reckon I can take first place.
That's cool.
One thing I was really looking forward to is after the Queensland show, especially, going up against Jack and the winner of South Australia, team winners, purely for the fact that I know they're going to be really strong competitors, and having two strong competitors to go up against as well, it was going to be really humbling to see where I fall in the line against them, because I know myself, I'm a smaller person. Like, I was weighing in at least 86 kilos. And these guys I was up against were a lot bigger than me and had more size on me. But to see whereabouts I fell against them would have really gave me a good perspective of, okay, cool, this is what I need to work on. This is where I need, and also how I looked against them as well.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's a really important thing to focus on is, where do we stack, in that proper lineup with all the boys, and, okay, this is where I really am, because, some people may not show up, or, some people that are more stronger competitors don't do your season. So, going to nationals, like you're saying, and giving yourself the opportunity to go, okay, wow, I'm actually a bit better in the lineup than I thought I was going to place. This is good. Or, okay, no, you're right. I do need to put on more size, more muscle.
Yeah.
But I noticed Cam didn't end up doing juniors.
Yeah. So I actually spoke to him backstage about it, and I was like, bro, I said to him, like, bro, I was really looking forward to actually losing to you. And he kind of looked at me puzzled, and I was like, look, I know you got good muscle tissue, you got great shape, you got great conditioning, your posing's on point. And he goes, look, I really wanted to, but I really just wanted to smash out classic, and having to try and, peak for bodybuilding first up, and then having a big wait until opens at the end would kind of conflict with where I wanted to lie with things.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fair enough. Like, you had the mindset of what you wanted to do, and you just really wanted to 100% nail it.
Yeah.
And he did a great job on stage. He definitely did.
He did. He looked amazing. A lot of potential, so much potential.
Definitely. Especially the fact that he's 22.
I know, it's crazy.
And
I wish I looked like that.
But the thing that gets me is he's 22 and he looks like he's 30. Because when I saw him, like, when he won the nationals, when he won the South Australia for juniors, I was like, nah, he can't be 22. He can't be under 23. I'm thinking in my head, if he's 22 and has that, he's
much muscle density.
Oh, definitely. Great genetics, great work ethic. And like, just the training and the stuff he does is it's great.
Definitely. Yeah. He's one of I'm hoping to get him on the podcast actually this week. So
definitely good
chat with him. So then you're kind of feeling that if he kind of went in, you may have bumped down to that third place, because you ended up taking second next to Jack.
Yeah. Going into it, I didn't have any expectations of where I was going to place. Obviously, in my head, I was wanting to take first.
Yeah.
But the realistic thought I had is top 3 is where I have a feeling I would sit. Whether it would be first, second, or third, I do not know. Purely for the fact that when I did the New South Wales show, I was up against bigger guys who had more muscle density on them. But it's just the fact that I was a lot more conditioned compared to the bigger guys, which I felt like gave me that edge and a step up and what got me first place.
Definitely.
But then being up against, say, Cam and Jack, who are the slightly bigger guys, would my conditioning, kind of put me ahead of them, or would their size and conditioning together take over my conditioning itself, sort of thing? So that's kind of where my head was at.
Yeah, and this is what I was interested about. So I was unable to make it to nationals because I was a bit under the weather. But I was watching the stream, and while I'm watching you both on stage, it did look like through the live stream that you were slightly more conditioned in certain areas than Jack. So moments I was like, I think you've got it. I think you're going to take him. So I'm guessing maybe I did notice, especially at States 2, they were leaning towards this kind of, we're going to give extra points to mass. Like, that's what it was kind of coming across. So I guess maybe even though you just had him on conditioning, even though he was that, let's say you were 98 and he was 97, but because he was slightly bigger, they went more that direction. But I reckon, I don't think it was an easy win. I reckon you worked him from what I saw through the live stream. So
thank you for that. Nothing bad against Jack. Like, he's a great guy. He's got great shape on him. But in saying that, honestly, my front and sides, I feel like are more conditioned than what his was. He did have a bit more overall, just general size on me, especially in his legs and his back, which I feel like my back is my weakest point at the moment. But at the end of the day, I have a feeling it was very close between us, probably maybe only 1 or 2 points. And I actually am going to ask the judges of like, hey, look, I kind of want to know what was like the deciding factor between us, as I'm going to ask that for my feedback, and hopefully I do get it. But I do have a feeling it was the fact that his legs were just a little bit bigger and his back, which is generally the characteristics of a bodybuilding compared to classic. So I have a feeling that's where they were looking at it.
Yeah, so that makes a bit more sense then, because that, even though you had that a little bit more, I guess you could say, flow, but that's when that ends up what's separating that classic and open, and that's why some people that don't do as good in open, but if they were to translate over to classic, because they just have that little bit extra flow, and that they could end up doing a bit better.
Definitely, that, and I have a feeling he was more composed on stage compared to what I was. And that was
he was zoned in. You could tell he was really locked in.
But like, the reason why I felt like I wasn't as composed on stage is because I got to the venue a little bit later than what I was wanting. And my time to get tan took so long that by the time I actually got down, and as I was about to have like a little bit of food, they were calling us in to get us pumping up. So my brain just went boom, like what do I do? Like, what do I eat? Like I'm supposed to eat this, I'm supposed to have this, like what do I do? And I was messaging coach, and I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I need to do? And everything like this. I got no food in my body, got no water really. And he goes, just grab your chips, go to the pump up area. I'll be down there in 1 minute. And so my brain was just really frazzled at that point. And like, I was just a bit nervous and a bit stressed because the layout that we had planned didn't actually end up happening. And so that really kind of got to me a little bit. And that's why I think I wasn't as composed on stage compared to him. But in saying that, his focus that he has, his focus is really immense. And he was like, even just backstage pumping up, he was going in with 100% intention. His focus was just amazing. Even just backstage, it was just on point. I was like, all right, cool. This is going to be like a good lineup. Just even from the backstage.
It's interesting. Like, it really comes down to those tiny moments that something just simple as, oh, fuck, I'm not getting my tan done in time. And then coming back and shit, they're calling our name. It can really get our head spinning and play doubts in our mind. And that can just, I think when it is so close, it comes down to those minor things. Like if that composure, or, just you may be slightly not hitting that pose as long as he is. And, that just can deduct the point, which is unfortunate. And, it's just how, I guess, the day rolls, but it's interesting to see.
Like my mind was like, shit, I don't have any carbs in my body. Am I going to be pumped up enough? Am I going to look full enough when I actually go on stage? Like, am I just going to be pumping up and, look flat on stage because I don't have, any carbs or any sugars in my body to actually push into the muscle? And that's where my head was kind of like feeling at. And so, but at the end of the session, like at the end of the pump up before you went up, I did feel a lot better. I did feel like I looked more pumped than what I was expecting to. So by the time I went on stage, I did feel a little bit
boost that confidence again.
Yeah, it did. It did pick me up that little bit more, which was good.
So you're saying you believe that your back is kind of your weakest area. So is that kind of what the plan is for, is this why you're kind of taking a 2-year gap? So are you trying to, is that the plan, like push that 7 kilos up and, work on that back? Is it more width, thickness, a combination of both? Kind of what's that off-season plan, and why, was it your choice or Mike's kind of choice to take this 2 years off?
I think it was like, I feel like in my head, like I had planned to do the 2024 season anyway, whether it would be A or B, depending where we fall. But I think it was also Mike's idea in his head, and his idea that he's going to put forward to me as well, more or less just for a few reasons. One, so we can grow in the areas that we need to, primarily my back and my posterior, a little bit my legs as well. After we've brought up those areas, it's just going to be a little bit more overall growth in the rest of the body. But one of the main reasons is purely just for like health reasons as well, to have like a good have a good decent reverse diet, not have basically go straight to a 4-week reverse and then go straight into a bulk. Because by the time you do this, hard 6-month bulk, you're going to be back straight into prep, May, June sort of thing. You're going to have to do your prep for another 20, 24 weeks. So you're only going to give your body, a small period of rest before you start pushing food, pushing load and everything like that. Whereas if we do season 8, 2024, that gives us a full year before we start prep again. So we can go, okay, cool. Say we have 8 months, 9 months of growth, 2 to 3 months of actually just rest and recovery, getting everything back to health, everything back to maintenance and everything like that. So I'm very much a big person on staying healthy, staying, as well as I can throughout the board of things. And Mike's very much the same as well. He goes, if anything starts feeling off, or if you don't feel like your body's not recepting to well things, then we go, okay, cool, we need to look at this and get it adjusted. If we have to pull out of it because, the health reasons and markers aren't where they should be, then that's how it is. I'd much rather be healthier and safer and keep longevity of the sport and yourself going. Because there's a lot of people out there that will do, a show every year, or sometimes even, season A and season B in 1 year. And you just think, how much stress are you actually putting on your body to be able to do those 2 shows a year, or even, do a show every year? But at the same time, if your body is big enough, like say for Mike, his body is already at the size where he could do one every year, because for him to actually put on amount of size, it requires a lot of food. So he can kind of sit slightly above maintenance and still grow. But then when he starts his prep, it doesn't have to be as aggressive, because he's only a little bit above his maintenance. So his cut doesn't have to be as long or as aggressive, because he can just pull back a little bit. If that makes sense. Whereas when you're starting off in the career, you kind of have to, push hard and dig deep sort of thing to really get the most out of it. But when you have that amount of muscle maturity and muscle density and tissue on you, you don't have to do things as harsh, I believe.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was literally about to say all of that. 100% agree with you. I find that especially as amateurs, if you're not a top end amateur where you have that muscle maturity, you have the years on your belt where you don't necessarily, it's always good to put a bit of muscle on and improve in certain areas, because it's always, that's the main goal of the sport. You can get away with doing prep 1 year after another, but I think it's very good, and it's good that you have that mindset, and it's good that Mike shares that, and as well as I'm seeing it in more like this coming year, and that compared to a little bit in the past where people kind of just want to go back to back to back, but it's like you're not really making that progress as an amateur, and what is needed to if you're wanting to really progress and get to that top end amateur, be worthy of maybe getting a pro card. And then like you said, I think an exception of that, I was surprised that Matt, who won the classic pro card, that he actually ended up doing season B after doing season A. I thought maybe he'd jump into season A next year, but in that saying, I feel like at that point, when he lost to Callum, I feel that it was 1 or 2 points, and I think he knew he was at that point where he was going to win. So I think he just kind of went, fuck it. And I think he also did Western Australia for that reason, to give himself a little bit more time than doing something like Melbourne or Queensland, just to go, give myself a little bit, maybe a month or 2, jump in there, get the qualification for nationals, and it's good. I think that's an exception to what
definitely. Because after the season A, I believe he goes, well, this is what I think is what he was thinking is he has that size condition where he can kind of do the second show that year. And with that short amount of time between the 2 shows, he could work on what he needed to do. And then from him doing the Western Australia, it gives him enough time to, play around with the prep, play around with, making the weight cap and everything like that as well. So I have a feeling that's one of the reasons why he did it. And then going from Western Australia to nationals, his body could handle, that back-to-back stress of the peak week, purely for the fact that he has that, he has that muscle density, he has that maturity in his body, And the fact that since he is bigger, he doesn't have to diet down as hard. He can still keep his body, a bit higher on calories, a bit higher on carbs and things like that to sustain his body a bit more as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the next question is, and I think this is really important, when it kind of comes to, bodybuilding is, having a community, having a support system. And my question kind of is, what is it like, having Mike as your coach and kind of that community that he, because, following him for a while now and, following what he's done with, his gym and, his athletes, he really, I can tell prides himself on that family-like community, support system within his clients and athletes. And I think, that's really important. So I just kind of wanted to, hear your experience and kind of, how important you feel that has been in in your journey.
Yeah. In all honesty, I feel like Mike's team and Mike's family that he has is probably one of the strongest things that he has done for his business and himself. Because I started with Mike, I think it was December 2020. So kind of just before he became really big and really well known in the IFBB and amongst other coaches and competitors.
Yeah.
So seeing him transition from the cusp of becoming big and then to see where he is now, I feel like having his family, like the team's family and like the community that he has built, I feel like it's one of the best things any coach can do.
Yeah.
Because when the first time I went down there, down to Mike's gym, I've never met any of these people. But after, saying hey, hello to them, it kind of felt like family straight away. Just like the way that they open their arms to you, it definitely has that sense of embracement. And you just know this is where I belong, sort of thing. Yeah. And having that support, the group that he has, we all have a big group chat with everyone that's in it. And the amount of messages they get put in there every week, whether it be serious, funny, just emotional, or if you just need support, everyone's going to be there for you. And it's really great. So and anytime somebody comes into the actual team, Mike will always say, hey, everyone, this is the new person that's into the team. I'm really stoked to be in the corner. This is what the plan is. This is what their goals are. And just the amount of messages from everyone, just greeting them and bringing them into the family is the best feeling that you could probably feel.
Yeah.
And especially when you go into prep as well, being able to talk to everyone going into prep or who's done prep, it makes things easier, I feel, because you can talk to someone that you relate to. And having that close bonding connection with, it really does make things feel easier, really does level your head out, really does reduce the amount of stress that you have on your body and mentality as well. So having that family and support group, honestly, if I didn't have that for this prep, I feel like I would have really struggled myself, especially. And I know a lot of other people out there who don't have that, they probably struggled. And a few of the other people in the team, I know they struggled really quite hard. And if they didn't have the people in the team and the family, that it would have been a lot worse off. But yeah, honestly, best thing ever. It's a really good feeling to have. Yeah,
that's good. It's good because I remember when I first saw Mike, it was when back in the day when he was used to be training with Sam, and he was, it was Sam was the figure, and you always kind of saw him tag along, and it was oh yeah, he's a really big guy, oh, he's competing, oh okay, cool, and then all just pre-COVID and all that, and then just boom, he just took his business to another level, created one gym, created his clients and that family, and congratulations to him. That's amazing effort, and I think it's he's really giving back to the sport. It's really good to see people and athletes and coaches, competitors who just have received so much from the sport and are able to give back in that manner. And
definitely,
I think
yeah,
example of that.
No, definitely, he's definitely done a really good job of giving back to the IFBB community. Especially, I feel like this season was a lot better. Well, season B was a lot better for him to be able to give back because he wasn't competing. So he could really put a lot of time, a lot of focus into it as well. Especially his store that he had there as well. He had a lot of
merch. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, bro. Honestly,
such a good idea.
Honestly, the quality of the products that he buys just for his gym, as well as the products and the quality of clothes that he has.
Yeah.
He puts in the money for that quality, for the best results to get. Like I love the shirts, I love the jumpers so much because like when you put it on, you can feel the actual quality and the make of it. So it's good. It's good.
That's good. You kind of feel the love. It's like, when
Yeah,
your mom's
definitely.
cooking or your nan's cooking, she made it with love. It's the same.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
All right, our next question is what is kind of, when comparing, your WBFF prep and kind of comparing this prep, what is something that you've kind of taken away that, and you think is something that you've learned that's been really important, and you think that you can kind of transition it into your next prep, and it's going to give you that another level up to kind of succeed better, if you know what I'm, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I feel like my WBFF prep and this prep were very different, purely for the fact that 10 weeks versus 24 weeks, it's a big change. And so in WBFF prep, I feel like I was more of a routine because I only had one job back then, whereas now I have two. So my routine every single day was the exact same and did not change for the whole entire 10 weeks. So I was always working in the afternoon, so that way I could have my time to get up, do my cardio, come home, have a meal, then go back and train because I was only like 10 minutes away from the gym. Come home from the gym, have a shower, take my meals, go to work. So I had that really good routine, so I didn't have to change anything. Whereas this time around, having clients early in the morning, clients late at night, working two jobs, working the weekends, and everything like that, I feel like this one was a lot harder. But having done the first one, it did really teach me have a good routine set in place. Meal timing is also very important, which is one thing I learned from the first one. But just those little things do make a big difference. And then going forward into the next one, I kind of have more of an idea of what to do, and what things to do and what things not to do. I feel like some of the things I was doing this prep that I shouldn't have been doing were kind of slacking off in the gym at times, because I was like, the only time I really got to see my mates because I was always working at night and always working at the weekends. So I feel like I kind of need to reduce work a little bit so I can have that freedom to actually socialize and go out and see my mates and have that as like de-stressing. And that's probably going to be my main focus for my next prep, is reduce work just by, that 10-15%, so I can have that time so I can see my mates rather than only seeing them in the gym and, talking to them, which, takes up more time in the gym, takes up time from actually working out properly and all those little things as well. So that's probably going to be my main focus for the next prep, is having a better routine and structure for gym and friends and work.
Yeah. So it's about, creating that balance. I think that's something that, there's always that conversation of how do we have balance within bodybuilding. And I think, it's important to, especially at the beginning, you need to dedicate yourself to it, and, you got to make sacrifices, but you still need that mental balance. And, if that is, okay, well, I need to make a sacrifice with work and like you lose 10-15% just so I can get that mental break and hang out with friends. But then it's not going to detract away from when I'm in the gym. I'm 110%. It's really important. So that's good that you kind of have learned that, and, you can now apply that. So have you thought about, because you're saying you do face-to-face PT? Have you thought about transitioning into online, and maybe that's a possibility for that new prep then to reduce the constant like face-to-face, or you enjoy the face-to-face?
I do enjoy the face-to-face because I love, like seeing my clients in person and training with them, because it's always a good fun and always a good laugh. But also, it's always good to see them in person. So that way, if they have any questions in the gym, you can actually show them directly. I am actually working on doing more online stuff. I was working a little bit at the start of prep, but I kind of did put it on the back burners just because I really just wanted to focus on this prep and do the best I can. So the goal for the next 3 to 4 months is to really just dive into everything online, purely for the fact that it's going to be another source of income. I have enough time during the day and at this job here as well, because I can just jump on the computer, say for like 45 minutes to an hour, smash out some work, and I can do that over the weekend. So it's really quite easy to be able to do those little things. I am actually going to catch up with one of the guys I actually competed with at the New South Wales show, Cade.
Yeah.
Because he's actually really quite well and very far ahead in the online coaching, and he's got his own gym, he's got his own companies, or like brands and stuff like that he's working with. So I'm going to tee up with him one day, and we're just going to sit down and kind of like nail out a weekend of basically just me picking his brain.
Yeah, just mentoring.
And yeah, exactly. Because like he's gone through, going having business coaches, sitting down and really nailing those sorts of things. So as much as it would be worthwhile paying for a business coach to like help you with your online studies, at the same time, it is a lot of money at the time, and just especially after prep.
Yeah.
So that's one small sacrifice I'm going to have to make, is having a professional who does this as a career versus obviously I'm going to pay Cade for his time because he is helping me, paying a little bit less, but paying someone who's had the coach, but then coaches clients himself. So he has the knowledge from the coach, but he's also implemented it himself.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would probably be the better route to do, because he's learned and then he's implemented it himself. Whereas coming from, a business coach, he just teaches it. He doesn't really implement it in, your direct diverse way, whereas Cade does.
Yeah.
So I feel like that'll be a little bit better. And the fact that I know Cade and we get along, it will probably make things a little bit better as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's kind of like learn the tricks of the trade. Like you're saying, you can pay a coach, but they can only teach you, the certain aspects, but not actually, they haven't necessarily applied it to the specific area that you're working on. Where, like you're saying with Cade, he's paid a coach, he's got the information, then he's implemented it, he's worked out what doesn't work, what does work, he's fine-tuned things. So really, you're kind of paying for someone almost above a business coach.
Yeah, definitely
to your needs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing as well. Like I'm helping him, like obviously paying him as well. But then, so by me helping him, he's helping me in return.
Yeah.
And also obviously from that as well, we're also going to do some training stuff, do some like content stuff as well, which is also going to help him on his like business side of things, and his like YouTube and vlogging as well. So like it helps him create more content and everything like that as well. So it's another good thing for him as well. And that's,
it's a mutual partnership where,
exactly.
Your back, you scratch his back.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. So my next question kind of is, what are 3 things that you believe are the most important factors in bodybuilding, and do you believe that you have been able to kind of meet those 3 factors, or where do you kind of feel like you're sitting in the direction that you're heading in?
3 factors in what regards? Because there's a lot of different factors in bodybuilding. Yeah,
that's true. It's a very multi-variable sport. Just kind of like, I guess, for example, along the lines of, you could say one factor is balance. You could say another factor could be the understanding of the training and nutritional side of what is needed within the sport, or, the understanding of, okay, well, if I want to be a pro and I need to succeed, I'm going to have to dedicate and make sacrifices. Does that kind of...
Yeah. I reckon the 3 main things that I can think of. I reckon the first one is get used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Whether if it's in your growth and bulk season, because as much fun as it is, eating a lot of food and your strength going up, your weight's going to go with it as well. So you need to be comfortable with putting on that weight. But then at the same time, you also need to be comfortable with, going to bed hungry, waking up hungry, feeling hungry constantly during the day, drinking so much water to kind of cure that hunger and all those sorts of things. So being able to feel, being comfortable to feel uncomfortable on both sides of the spectrum of bulking and cutting, I reckon is one of the main factors. Because I know when I got to my heaviest, which is 102, I didn't really I was always wearing my oversized shirts. I wasn't really wearing singlets or anything like that, just because I just felt so big, and I kind of felt large and round.
Yeah.
Even though I still looked good, in my head, I was thinking, oh, you got a bit of a gut,
Yeah.
you're looking a bit flabby, and that's where you kind of need to feel comfortable being uncomfortable. And then in prep, it's the same thing, eating so little, constantly feeling hungry, having one meal and feeling a bit bloated because you've added like 200-300 grams of veggies in there to create more volume. But since you have that volume and your stomach is so small from eating so little, it bloats you.
Yeah.
Being comfortable within that situation is just as important.
Yeah.
And then definitely number 2 would be balance, trying to balance work, getting your food in, doing your cardio, doing your training sessions, seeing your friends, having time for your family, all those little things, having time for yourself, having time with your partner. Yeah, definitely. If you do have a partner and you're both in prep, or if one of you is in prep, I feel like that's one of the biggest balances that you need to juggle and learn to deal with, especially if one of you is in prep and the other's not. Still finding things to go and do for dates.
Yeah.
Whether if it's, you go out and eat food, but, you take your own food with you, and like having to do that, or just going out and doing, like little fun activities like going bowling, or, going to do putt-putt or arcade, just having those few moments where you're still going on dates and having fun, but you're not sacrificing anything.
Yeah.
I feel like is one of those big balances that you need to have as well. And especially with having time with family, making sure that they understand what you're doing and why you are doing it is another big thing. Because I know most families, you catch up, you have, like a big lunch, big dinner, Sunday roast, and all those things, and you're sitting there with, your little small Tupperware container with a little bit of meat and veggies. You kind of feel rude doing that, because they put in the time and effort to make these food. So helping them understand what you're doing and why you're doing it will make things easier to balance out.
Yeah.
Because like there's been times where I've suggested, like my auntie, for example, I think it was my auntie, my uncle, they wanted to go out and have like big Sunday roast at their place. And I kind of curveballed and was like, hey, why don't we go out for coffee instead? Because if we do that, I can go, okay, cool. I can have my long black and just, not have anything else, where, they could have like their coffee and they can have little teas and cakes and things like that as well. So I was trying to manipulate the situation so I didn't feel uncomfortable and didn't make them feel uncomfortable either.
It's just a happy kind of balance.
Yeah. Number 3. There's a lot of things to it. Having a good support network.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because when you go through everything, it's not until you hit prep where you do make those sacrifices. And if you have to make those sacrifices with your friends, and if they don't understand, that's where things become really tough in your mentality. So having a good support network of your friends still being by your side, even though they don't invite you out or anything like that, because they don't want to put you in that situation, but they still check up on you. They still ask to go to the gym with you, because majority of my friends I have, they don't compete.
Yeah.
They go to gym because they enjoy it and they have fun, but they don't compete, but they understand the side of competing. So they will never invite me out when I'm in prep, because they don't want to put me in that situation. They don't want to add that extra fatigue or that extra stress. But a few times a week, they'll send me a message like, hey bro, how you feeling? How's prep going? How's your training? Do you need anything? They send those messages because they know they can't invite me out because they don't want to put me in that position, but they'll still check up on me to see if I'm okay, which is one thing I'm very grateful for.
That's good. No, it really sounds like you've kind of, I 100% agree with all those 3 things. And I think that it really does sound like, you kind of been able to create an environment and put yourself in a situation where you can nail those important things and have the right people around you, or, be in situations with family that, can understand. Because, I think that's really, really important, especially with family. Like, it's hard if they don't understand. And I feel like when you're in prep, the more people that can understand where you're kind of coming from, and if you are able to have those people around you, it's going to only, benefit you and help you be in a better mindset to, overtake those things like hunger, the fatigue, the stress.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I reckon the funniest thing was before my mum kind of understood more about the whole bodybuilding side of things. Like when she saw the amount of food I was eating, she goes, "Oh, you have an eating disorder." I'm like, "No, I don't." An eating disorder is like when it's a bit more of like a mental health issue.
Yeah,
I'm doing this for a purpose. That's the
yeah,
difference. And she just couldn't wrap her head around that. And then like I sat down with her one day and had like a full explanation, like
yeah,
talk with her and everything like that. She goes, "Okay, it kind of makes sense now." She still doesn't understand the whole point of the sport,
yeah.
but she supports me through it though, so it's good.
That's the main thing. As
Yeah,
long as you have that support. My mom's like that too. She like
yeah,
doesn't quite get it, doesn't quite agree with it, but she's still supportive of it. And I think
yeah,
that, the main thing, because if you're not in the sport, that's something that I've really learned, that people who know of bodybuilding have such a, stereotypical view of it and don't actually really
yeah,
understand it until they're either in it. It's like that if you know type thing.
yeah, definitely. But I reckon the funniest thing was though she put up a post because she came up. So both my parents drove up to Queensland for nationals,
Oh, awesome.
and we took like a cute photo together, my mom and I.
Yeah.
She posted it up and she goes, "So proud of my son. Still don't fully understand the support, but regardless, he had a good time." So
That's so
I
good.
thought it was really quite funny.
Yeah.
No, but love it a bit. So she does support me and she does understand why I want to do it and why I'm doing it. So it's good.
It's good. It's really important. So last thing before we kind of wrap up was you said that you have some exciting news to share.
Yes. So it's in the talks. Or sorry, it's been approached to me,
Yeah.
and we're finalizing things this week. But one of my good mates and one of my mates who's in my very close small circle,
Yeah.
he's a physio,
Yeah.
and he's taking over the physio kind of section at our gym, as well as opening up another physio section at another world gym.
Yeah.
And he's actually asked me if he could sponsor me for it.
Wow.
So since he's taking over the business and
Yeah.
he's got his own branding and everything like that, he's a very particular person,
Yeah.
and he goes, the amount of discipline that you have, your work ethic, how you are with everyone, how humble you are. He goes, you were 2 weeks out from show and you were still helping people, showing support to people, taking time out of your own workout sessions to talk to people and help them with their training and stuff like that. Nobody does that when they're 2 weeks
Yeah.
out. Like they're very just zombie mode and everything like that. He's a very particular person who will only want somebody who can represent his values and his ideologies. Um, so I was actually very grateful that he actually had asked me.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's getting in the works now is actually basically first sponsorship.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Congratulations, man. That's
Thank you.
actually amazing. And I get, like you're saying, it's what's the right word? It's like a very big accomplishment, knowing
Yeah,
how particular he is and how, what he knows, what he wants, what he respects. He wants, you always when you're running a business, you want people to represent that, share the same values and
yeah.
morals.
What you value, yes, yes, definitely.
To be, be the first person, and also like, straight off the bat where he hasn't completely even finished kind of fully taking over, and he's already like, I got you, man. I want you. I want to sponsor
Yeah,
you. That's really, really good.
yeah. No, but like he's I'd say like he is one of my closest mates,
Yeah.
and him being a physio and me being a PT, like even though he works at a different gym compared to the one I work at, I respect him, and I will only ever refer somebody to, like, I'll only refer or promote something I believe and entrust in. And so whenever I'm talking with my clients and like they have issues and like they go, "Oh, I should probably go see a physio," I'll always say to them like, "Look, this is my physio who I see.
Yeah.
I've been to a few physios, and this is like the main person who actually understands and respects the whole physio side of things." Because I feel like there's a lot of physios out there who put in medium to low grade effort into their clients so they can keep seeing them, so they can get a little bit more money. But with him, he goes, this is what we're going to do. This is what we need to work on. And then once he's done what he feels like he can do, he goes, he literally say to him, he goes, look, I've done everything I can. From now, it's up to you to be active with like your exercises to like, do the actual recovery. Because anything more I do, it's just going to be doing the same that I did last week. So there's no point me, taking money from you and doing the same thing over and over again, when I'd much rather you progress, do these exercises, and even just have a chat with me once a week, like when I see you in the gym. So that's one thing I really do love about him. He's very respectful and very honest with the work he does. And so I refer my clients to him. So, and in that regard, it works really well, because everything he puts down on notes from the sessions with his client, he will send it through to me, because therefore I can go, okay, cool. I can change this exercise, therefore it works along with this active recovery exercise that we need to do. I can implement more stretching or more activation movements before we actually get into the exercises, to help my clients get the best out of their goals and needs that they want to achieve.
Yeah, it's good. So you're able to work well as a team for your clients. And I think that's really important. And I think it's amazing. We need more people that, especially in the physiotherapy, where, I think that is almost as important to, just like sleep and nutrition, where there's only so much we can do with stretching and, releasing by ourselves with a foam roll or a ball.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really just need that manual labor from someone else. And
definitely
really, really important as well. Like you're saying, there are unfortunately some people out there that, do that low to mid kind of effort to kind of get recurring clients and money, as well as I find that, because I've been through to a few, and I finally found some really good ones. But I noticed that it's really hard because they're not bodybuilding specific, or they're not understanding. And so it's good that, he is kind of, catering and understands kind of that extra level of what it means to like implement bodybuilding aspects into it, to kind of, give everything that you need as an athlete.
And one thing that's really good about what he does is he's actually spent primarily most of this year jumping from sport specific training to different areas of different training styles. Like he was doing sport specific training. He did 3 or 4 different sport specific trainings at the start of the year, and then he kind of moved into boxing style training, and then a bit of jiu-jitsu style training, bit of bodybuilding style training, powerlifting, and then I think he's about to start doing a bit of like Olympic lifting, CrossFit style training.
Oh, cool.
So he can actually understand the movements that they do, so that when he has those sorts of clients come in, he goes, okay, I understand this movement. I understand the fundamentality of what needs to get done. So therefore, when he does his work, he has an idea of what needs to be moving, what should be feeling what. And when he does and prescribes, like the physio-based exercises, it aligns with what they're doing themselves. So that's one thing that he's really good about. What he does is he's always upskilling his own self and his work, so he can target more areas.
That's so important. That's really, really good. Honestly, I want to give this man a shout out. So I'll get you to DM me his profile, like his Instagram, whatever. And I'll also chuck that in the link down below, along with all your socials, so people can go check him out too, if like they live in where you do and can get to him. That's really awesome.
No, he's definitely top bloke. I love him to bits.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you that was a great conversation. And I'm excited to kind of see where your off season is going to go and how much you're going to grow, and can't wait to see you back on stage in 2024.
Thank you. It was an absolute honor and great experience talking to you. Thank you very much.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thank you, man. Have a good rest of the day, bro.
Thanks. You too.